Okay, welcome. My name is Connor Frost. It's really good to be here. I want to thank Embrace Tutoring for putting this together, for having me. It's a really wonderful opportunity, and I'm happy to be here and share with you all, whether you're here in Zoom or on YouTube, watching on YouTube, writing and releasing your first album. Once again, my name's Connor, and very happy to be here. So before we get started, I'm going to be muting your side of the conversation. This is to have just really keep the flow going. If you have any questions, please include them in the chat. Or if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to put them in the comments, and I will address those questions at a later time. If you're here on Zoom, we will have a question and answer part of the webinar later. So again, please feel free to leave them either in the comments on YouTube or in the chat here on Zoom. Any questions I don't get to, like I said, I can answer via email later on. Okay. All right, so setting the scene a little bit here. What you'll leave with by the end of this webinar, excuse me, first steps towards starting your first song and album, as well as a clear step-by-step process and roadmap on how to write, record, and release your music. I'll also include some other program-related resources, and you'll also have the opportunity to work with me. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, but certainly there will be that opportunity. What we'll cover. So I'm going to introduce myself in a little bit more fleshed out way, starting with my story, who I am, as well as my background. We're going to talk about reasons to release your music. Number 3, common blocks keeping you from writing and releasing your music and how to break through them. Number 4, how and where to start. Starting is often the hardest part, so we're going to talk about that. Number 5 is daily songwriting strategies. What equipment you'll need is probably less than you think. Number 7, finding a producer and sound engineer if you decide to go that route. Number 8 is how to officially self-release your album when you get to that point. Number 9 is how I can help. And again, we'll have an opportunity to answer any questions if there are any. So want to break into my story before we really get started here, just so you know who is presenting. So I'm a teacher musician, and I have a mentoring program where I help hidden musicians to write and release their first album. I'm the frontman and lead singer for New York, New Jersey-based rock band Dizzy Bats. I've toured the country countless times, up and down the Northeast, down south through the Midwest, up and down the West Coast, as well as internationally in China and Canada. I've appeared on international radio in Taiwan, as well as been a guest on multiple US and European-based podcasts. My band Dizzy Bats has self-released 7 albums. We'll be coming out with a new album later, the beginning of next year, beginning of 2021. I've worked on and co-produced 5 music videos also for my band. And I've taught and mentored over 300 students in a variety of areas and subjects, including writing and releasing your first album. So to really start off here, I want to talk about the reasons to write and release your debut album. The argument could be made that perhaps you don't need to write and release, and you can simply work on art and not get to that point. And I absolutely empathize with that, but I want to talk about the reasons why you should get your work out there. So number 1 is that whether you know it or not, you have a unique voice that the world wants to hear. And music is your opportunity and your vehicle to make that happen. We've been given such an opportunity, such a gift to be able to express ourselves through this amazing art form. And so there are people out there who can really benefit from hearing that unique voice. Number two is that it provides so many cool opportunities to tour the country, travel the country and beyond. And again, it's easier than you probably think, as well as meet and collaborate with other people, whether they're musicians, different types of artists, visual artists, film people, just so much opportunity to meet new people and collaborate with others. Number three is that it allows the opportunity to reflect on your work and grow as a musician and person. Again, I think that there's this school of thought that perhaps you don't need to release music. Perhaps as long as you're working on music, working on your art, that's what's most important. And again, I empathize, but I think there's something to be said about getting your work out there, having it be finished, and being able to really reflect on that experience and grow from it. Whereas if you don't put it out there, that opportunity is not going that finish line, that opportunity is not going to be as tangible. So that period of reflection will be a little bit more challenging. Number four, whether you're applying for college, looking for a job, whatever it may be, having an album to your name is a great way to stand out. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to have a piece of work be so representative of who you are in this alternate way. So definitely that is a huge talking point and a huge asset, whether you're applying for college or anything else. Number five is that there are no longer these gatekeepers who are deciding who gets to make and distribute music. So we're living in this amazing time, not only amazing time for musicians, but artists and creators in general, where we just have so much opportunity and we don't have these boundaries in our way from getting our work out there. So it really is an incredible time and a period that we should embrace. Common blocks. What is keeping you from writing that song or record? So when we're talking about blocks, we're generally talking about mental blocks, right? So a lot of people who come to me to work with me and enroll in my program, they're looking to get over that hurdle that is currently in the way and keeping them from writing and releasing music, right? So the first common block is that you're generally overwhelmed by the process. There's this feeling that it will take too long, or you're not sure where to start. So you think to yourself, where do I even start? Right? So just being overwhelmed by the process is definitely a huge one. Number two is you're worried about what others might think. What if this song isn't good? What if this album isn't good? What if this person doesn't like it, right? We're worried about that perception of quality. Additionally, uh, putting out music is obviously a very personal thing where you're allowing yourself to be at your most vulnerable, right? So this idea of putting yourself out there, being unsure of how others will receive it, if they what they'll think of it, definitely is a common block. Number three is that you can't seem to piece all parts of a song together, right? Whether it's melody, accompaniment, lyrics. Maybe you have a good melody, but you can't figure out the lyrics. Or maybe you have a good guitar or piano part, but you can't figure out the melody. Or maybe you started with lyrics, but you can't find a melody to put to it, right? So it can be very challenging to piece all of those parts together in order to have a full song. Um, and then number four is perhaps somewhere along the line, by a teacher, maybe by a friend, someone told you that music and art is not worth pursuing because it's so hard to make money, or it will interfere with what's really important, right? That's definitely a block that I hear often from people I work with. And then the last one is that you feel like you don't have the right equipment. Maybe it's too expensive to get that equipment, or too expensive to hire a producer and sound engineer to work with. The financial component of it is definitely something that blocks people. So now I want to talk about how to break through those blocks. So obviously this is the important part of it. so that you can get to that, so you can reach your goal, right? So to restate, number one was general overwhelm by the process. This idea that it will take too long. Where do I start, right? So to keep in mind, if you're starting to think about that, that you can and should break down the process into the smallest chunks possible, right? So think about it as tangible tasks that you can carry out right now, tomorrow, a week from now, really specific things that you can focus on. And the reason to do this is that if you have those specific tasks in front of you, that can be your primary focus. And thus, you're not going to be so concerned with everything else that lies beyond that, right? All you can do to get to that goal is work on what's there. So I'll talk about this a little bit later, but that is a huge part of my program. Is each week 3 specific tasks that you can work on to push forward and reach that goal. Okay. Number 2, you're worried about what others might think. So obviously, we're all human. I definitely have suffered from this, still do from time to time. But to keep in mind that those who are casting judgment are likely doing so from a place of insecurity, right? So maybe they see what you're doing and think, "Oh, I wish I could do that." And so it's easier for them to react in kind of this, to be frank, unhealthy manner, so that they're projecting their insecurities onto you, right? So if you get that thought, just realize that if that's happening, those people that are casting that judgment likely have their own things that they're dealing with, right? Number 3 was you can't seem to piece all parts of a song together. So this is a huge thing where people will start writing music, they'll get something cool down, but then they'll get to a certain spot and then they get stuck. So they finish the melody, but they just can't put the right guitar part to it. And that is a very easy place to derail, right? Um, so I think a way to kind of get past that is realize you need less than you think, right? And it all starts with the demo. So if you start to think about, what can I do to bring this song to its best possible result, then you might still have that overwhelm, right? But if you think to yourself, okay, what do I need? What is the bare minimum that I need to get just that tangible demo? Then it's a little bit less overwhelming, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. Part 2 of breaking through blocks, and how to do that. So the other block I mentioned was that you've been told by someone that art music is not worth pursuing, right? This is very common. Again, this idea that it's simply too hard, doesn't make money, whatever it may be, right? So one thing to consider, again, kind of what I was saying before about realizing that people who are saying this probably have their own insecurities as well, right? There's something possibly deep seated there that is allowing them to say this, right? And then number 2 is the need for self-expression through music, through art, can really only fully be understood by you. So it's a unique feeling that again is really just that really just comes from you. So to try and have other people understand that ultimately will lead to disappointment because it can't be understood because it is so unique. So just realizing that and accepting that fact, I think, is huge in terms of being able to overcome this, this inner voice that is telling you telling you these things. Next block was that you feel like you don't have the right equipment. It's expensive to get what you need, etc. Totally understand this, and certainly producing, recording an album can cost a lot of money. But to remember that you're not really spending money; you are investing money and time, not only in music but in yourself. This is a huge moments where you're able to have a tangible piece of art that is so personal to you. So to understand that, like, this isn't just buying something random, right? This is about really investing in yourself and putting something out into the world that people will benefit from, for, forever, right? The other thing is that with the right research, you can find a solution that fits any budget. So there are so many people who are creating music from their bedroom. Billie Eilish, for one, she and her brother, that first record, completely produced from their bedroom. So there are ways, and there's so many ways now more than ever, to be able to find an option, and there's a bunch. Find an option that fits your budget, and fits your capabilities. Okay, next section. Where do I start? This is such a common. I'm going to call it a larger block, kind of this umbrella block. Um, when people get overwhelmed by this idea of releasing an album, or really doing anything for that matter, whether it's starting a business, or any sort of project, any sort of major project, the overwhelm is so great that it's hard to start, right? And so it's important to hone in on starting, because that is the most important part, right? Because if you don't start, then you cannot see that result ultimately, right? So realizing that it starts with that first song idea. That first song idea that you have is going to become that first demo, right? So there is going to be this amazing growth process that happens starting with that idea, and knowing that that's what you need, is you just need that first song idea, right? Then the demo, like I mentioned, having a demo, and you don't need that much, and it does not need to be of high quality. You just need to have something that is representative of that song from start to finish, right? So I like to call this the skeleton, which talk a little bit more about, but the skeleton, is, again, the bare bones of the song. So in this case, it's the melody and the accompaniment. Accompaniment meaning, let's say you play guitar, and you have you have a chord progression underneath, right? Or piano, the same kind of thing, right? So just having those two things is all you need for that demo. And again, the quality is not super important, right? After this, I'm going to be sending, anyone's interested, I'm going to be sending a finished song checklist. This is something that's helped clients and students of mine bring a song idea into a full song, right? So when it comes to songwriting, it's so great to have a structure: verse, chorus, bridge. So to be able to adhere to these pillars, these songwriting pillars, really helps to push a song along. So the checklist will be available to those who are interested. Songwriting strategies. So often writer's block can creep its way in. And so there are ways to break through that. And you can do so through various methods and strategies and exercises that I'm going to present now. So number one is to journal regularly. So journaling meaning taking pen to paper, pen to journal, and finding a time. Perhaps it's early in the morning before you really start your day, and just getting stream of consciousness onto paper, right? Anything that comes to your mind, to just write it out. Does not need to be anything eloquent at all. In fact, it shouldn't be. It should just be everything that's coming to your head. And to do this over, I would say, a week, week and a half, 2 weeks, as long as you can, and to, at certain points, look back into what you had journaled and see if there are any common themes that pop up. If there are, A, that can inspire a song idea. B, it could give you a general songwriting topic, right? So topics are often the hardest thing, right? Like, what do I write about? If you're finding that common theme throughout your journaling, probably that's something on your mind and is something worth exploring. Um, my last recommendation with that would be to try to eliminate any technological distractions, which I know is difficult this day and age, but to really make it as ritualistic as possible and to eliminate those outside distractions, external distractions. Number two is to utilize voice memos on your phone or computer. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. But voice memos for iPhone users, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's an app that comes with your phone, and you can just simply record anything and everything through the microphone that's built into your phone. So utilizing that app to record ideas as you get them. And the reason for that is an idea might pop into your head. You might not remember that idea later. So really important, and phone is easy because you always, if you're like me, you always have it on you to be able to record those ideas as you get them. Number three is to mix up writing locations and to try being in motion when you're writing. And it seems like maybe a little counterintuitive, maybe a little bit weird, but I found that writing while you're walking, while you're running, driving, can actually really shake things up and trigger some inspiration, right? And I'm not going to pretend like I know the science behind it, or if there is anything behind it, but I know for me personally, just mixing things up, those environments definitely can help. Number four, finding uninterrupted, distraction-free stretches of time to focus in on creating music each week. So many of you watching are probably high school students, or maybe some of you are in college dealing with a certain workload. Maybe some of you are young professionals who work a 9-to-5 job. It can be very difficult to find time for things like music, right? To find that creative time. And I think what happens is that there's this pressure to create every single day, right? We've heard that you need to practice every day. You need to, there's like the 10,000 hours rule where you need to put in 10,000 hours before you can be an expert, right? All of these things, which I think have the right intention, but the truth of the matter is a lot of times it's not sustainable for people. So instead of putting pressure on yourself to every day devote time to songwriting, instead just pick a 2 or 3 hour block sometime in your week that is going to be your time for music. And the reason for this is a focused 2 or 3 hours a week. You'd be amazed at how much you can get done and get closer to your goal. Number five, I alluded to practice earlier. Practicing your instrument, whether it's guitar, piano, vocals, whatever else, and learning other people's song to spark songwriting ideas. This is a huge one. If there is a particular band or song that you feel positively influenced by, absolutely learn it, because what'll happen is as you're practicing it, as you're learning it, you might come up with your own ideas that are based off some of the playing and some of the learning that you're doing. So in moments where you're not feeling super creative in terms of creating song ideas, coming up, conjuring up song ideas, absolutely just practice your instrument, and don't think of it as time away from your writing. Think of it as a songwriting strategy and method. Okay, and then the last one is to utilize, quote, dead times, unquote, in your day. So whether you're commuting to school, to work, these days commuting is a little bit less, but there's still dead time. Use that for writing. So I'll give you an example. Earlier today, I was doing laundry, and I had this song idea that I put together a couple days ago, and it was kind of in passing, didn't have much time to explore it. I decided while I was doing laundry, put in my AirPods, I listened back to that voice memo idea and just started thinking about lyrics ideas, right? Just started thinking about lyrics. So that's a good example of how you can use those dead times, like doing the laundry or commuting to school, commuting to work, to focus in on your music and your writing. All right, next section here is what do I need for my demo? So I already talked about this need for a skeleton demo, which includes a melody and accompaniment from start to finish. So what do you need to create this demo in the comfort of your own home? So number one is GarageBand or Audacity. So these are just a couple examples. GarageBand, if you're a Mac user, GarageBand comes with your Mac. If you're an Apple user, also comes with your phone and your iPad. This is a fantastic program that will allow you 100% to not only bring your demo to life, but if you wanted to, you bring your album to life as well. For PC users, there's a software called Audacity, which functions similarly to GarageBand. It's free, download it. There might be some aspects that you need to pay for, but if so, it's very low cost. So absolutely, Audacity is another option for your computer or your tablet. Number two, so I talked about this before, but the Voice Memos app, which again, if for an iPhone user, comes on your phone. I'm sure there's equivalents to the other smartphones, but to be able to use that to record your ideas on the go. So that's less about what you need for the demo, but more about what you need for the ideas, which will be brought into your demo. Okay, and then number three is a USB mic. So I recommend the company Blue, which has a wide range of mics to use from. The reason why a USB mic is good is because you don't need any sort of fancy interface. You simply just need to have a USB capability. You can plug in. It's plug and play. You plug in and you can go. So there's no huge investment in terms of like interface, right? There are also internal mics in computers, but I do think it's worth getting a step up like a USB mic, just to bring the quality of whatever you're recording on it up, a good amount. And again, it's a pretty low investment, so definitely worth it. I would go as far as to say that you should have this kind of mic. All right, so let's say you've gone through the process, right? So you have this demo, which consists of let's say a guitar part as well as a melody over it. Maybe you don't have lyrics quite yet, but you have some syllables that you can sing over the accompaniment, right? So you have these demos. You've used GarageBand, you've used Audacity, you've used your USB mic to bring it to life. What are you going to do next? So there's a couple different options here, but basically once you have your skeleton demos, you can start to think about recording officially. So the first thing is, if you have the means to self-produce or self-record, or you want to learn how to do that, you can certainly do that by building off of your demos, right? So you can sort of view your demo as kind of the reference, and you're using it as a jumping off point to bring your recording to life. So again, if you find that you're savvy with some of the software that I mentioned, absolutely, self-producing, self-recording is 100% an option. If you want to go another route, that would be to find a producer or sound engineer to help bring your project to life, right? So a collaboration of sorts, someone who has been doing it for a period of time, who can help you to bring your recordings from demo form into an official recording form, release form, I should say. So the question remains, where would you find someone like that? In the age of the internet, it's really not that hard. I would definitely utilize social media. You can make a post on Facebook, on Instagram, saying that you're looking for someone. I would even reach out to individuals who are maybe in that field and say and ask if they know someone, but really just utilize your network, because I found that warm introduction includes a layer of trust that I think is important, right? The other part of it is that there are sound engineers and producers of varying levels of experience. So there's someone out there that will fit your budget, whether it means working with a student, someone who's just starting out, or shelling out a lot of money for that top of the line producer. There is someone who can fit your budget. Facebook groups as well. Getting into Facebook groups that have anything to do with music or community, posting in those groups, asking if there's anyone available. That's definitely a way to go. Yeah, alluded to this before, but really your social media, Google, Instagram, Facebook, just utilizing all the tools at your disposal as well as your own network. All right, so let's say you either self-record, self-produce, or you decide to go the route of hiring a sound engineer and producer. Either way, you've gotten to a point where your recordings are ready to be released. So now what do you do? So to be clear, we are talking about self-releasing your album, right? So this is releasing your album out into the world without the assistance of a label or management or anything else, right? You are doing this yourself. So for self-release, you really need certain essentials. One is an artist photo to use anything you share related to your music. I think it's important to have an artist photo. Doesn't need to be super fancy, can just be something that you take on your phone, but you should have an artist photo. Album art, definitely something you're gonna want if you are regardless of where you're putting your music, you're going to need some sort of album art, right? And then the third thing is a bio and press release. What I will say is that they are kind of one entity, and those that I work with, I bring them through this process and I tell them what that means. But a bio/press release, regardless of whether you decide you want to try and get press for your album, it's still good to have some sort of write-up that you can share on social media, that you can share wherever you decide to release your music, whether it's Spotify or anything else. Definitely good to have some sort of bio that talks about you as well as your music, right? So gathering up essentials, that's gathering up essentials, very important. Number two, if you wanted to, if you'd like, and this is not a necessity by any means, but if you wanted to embark on a PR campaign where you try to get blogs, other publications to feature your music, review your music, you should allow, I would say, at least a month to pitch your songs to those publications. And then number three is using services like DistroKid, CD Baby, or TuneCore to officially release your music to Spotify and the world. So the way this works is if you want your music on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, whatever else is out there, you need to go through a distributor like the three that I just mentioned, submit to them, and then they will get it out into the world for you. So there's no sort of barrier other than you do at this stage need to go through them in order for that to happen, right? There are other websites like Bandcamp and SoundCloud where you can upload directly. If you decide to go that route, kind of separate from what I just talked about, absolutely that's an option. And that's SoundCloud and Bandcamp. So this release process is part of my program, depending on how far the artist gets through my program. But coaching people through this is definitely something that I'm able to do and have done with clients of mine. Okay, so good segue into how I can help. So like I mentioned in the beginning, I help hidden musicians to write and release their first album. So my Write Your First Album mentoring program is what I'm going to be talking about right now. So It's a program that's 12 weeks long. It's online, 12 weeks long, and you leave with the following. At the very least, you will have a tangible home demo of original music. So I talked about the process of a demo. I've talked about what a demo is. You will have a tangible home demo of original music at the very least. Number two is placement with a sound engineer or producer that fits your budget. So if you decide to go this route, I would help you to find the right person that fits your budget and also is someone that you vibe well with, right? So that is another aspect of the program. Number three is a comprehensive guide on how to self-release and self-promote your debut record. So I have a PDF guide that I include with the program, but like I said, I've also brought people through one-on-one that entire process because it can be a little bit overwhelming. So I bring people through how to strategies to get your music and promote it on social media, talk about if they want to do some sort of press campaign on their own, coach them through that as well. So that's also an option depending on where you are. Number four is, and this is the most important part, the experience and confidence to continue releasing music for years to come. So this is a big thing where I want you to leave the program feeling like you could do this on your own later on, and you absolutely will feel that way. Really quickly, I want to go back to number one for a second. So I say at the very least, because if you are savvy with self-recording and self-producing, you could very well come out with the recording itself, right? So it really depends on what route you want to take, but at the very least, you will have a home demo of original music featuring finished, fleshed out ideas. So how the program works. So we meet weekly one-on-one via Zoom to measure progress, reflect on, and hold you accountable for your writing process. So we do exactly that. So we'll talk, we'll flesh things out, we'll figure certain things out through our conversations, but to really have you make some progress from the beginning of the session to the end. Number two is I also provide 24/7 email support, 24/7 within reason. I'll get back to you generally within 24 hours. So that we're always in touch and we're immersed in this process and program together. This is really a collaboration. It's a mentorship. I'm not necessarily giving you all the answers, but we're working together to come up with solutions so that you can get closer to your goal each week. And in that vein, number three, clear tasks for you to work on each week so that you're getting closer to that goal, like I mentioned, right? So with my clients and students, we pick three things that we come up with together that we feel make sense so that you get to that finish line, right? In a process that can be very overwhelming, like I said before, breaking it down and working on consumable chunks really is what it's all about. All right, so if you're interested, if you like the webinar, if you're interested in embarking on this journey, and again, all this will be included in the comments. It'll be included in any way that you're getting this webinar. But you can go to connorfrost.com. That's CONNOR frost.com/juststart. And in Just Starting, you schedule a time with me, and we'll hop on a call. And we'll really take inventory, we'll get organized, and we'll figure out a plan as to how we can work together and how we can bring your music to life. Okay, again, I want to thank Embrace Tutoring. I want to thank Embrace Tutoring. This incredible opportunity. Really is so wonderful to be able to speak on this and to be able to help those. Even if you decide not to work with me, totally cool. I hope that you get something out of this webinar. Um, Contact information is here. Take it down. Do what you want with it. And I really am grateful for this opportunity, and I hope to speak with you soon. Thanks so much.